All right, stat projection video number 3 in the series is going to go to none other than Kyren Williams, last year's rookie running back out of the 5th round, out of Notre Dame. He is going to be the next feature here. Before we dive into that, here's a word from my sponsor, Neuro. Being a full-time content creator has its perks. It's a lot of fun, and it's an absolute blast when it's working. But sometimes it can be a little draining, and you need a little bit of a boost. And in that moment, I choose Neuro, who's sponsoring today's video. Neuro comes in either gum or mints to help you energize, calm you, or just give you some focus. Neuro was developed by athletes that didn't want to take any mysterious supplements or energy drinks when studying, training, or just going out. They wanted to create clean, balanced energy that could be taken anywhere at any time. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and endless lab testing, so you can reach the right state of mind consistently and safely. Unlike other heat-extruded gum or mints, Neuro's products are created with cold compression technology to maintain each ingredient's bioavailability. Rigorous testing protocols ensure that each mint or gum is efficient and consistent. Neuro's products meet the highest safety standards. If you constantly feel like you're falling behind and can't catch up, and the stress and anxiety is taking over, that's when Neuro comes in. They have 3 different products. Their Energy and Focus formula is specially formulated with natural caffeine, L-theanine, and B vitamins to sustain the mental endurance necessary to maintain your focus. Their Calm and Clarity formula is expertly developed with GABA, vitamin D3, and L-theanine to optimize composure and clarity of mind. And their Health and Vitality formula is specially infused with life-enhancing, immune-boosting vitamins to help it strengthen and support your body. I have a special offer for you guys. If you want to try Neuro, you can do so today for 20% off your purchase using my code JKB. That's tryneurogum.com/JKB, and you get 20% off your first purchase. The link will be in the description, the comment section, and of course, you can scan that QR code that you see right on the screen there. That way you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it. All right, so Kyren Williams last year as a rookie 5th rounder had some decent expectations from fans, but unfortunately for him, he suffered an injury that kind of changed everything for him in week 1. He was on the coverage team on the kickoff, and someone had rolled into his leg, and, well, unfortunately, it sidelined him for the majority of the season. He ended up playing 10 games, but he only had 35 carries, and to be honest with you, he wasn't really able to do much, especially when Cam Akers got hot towards the end of the year. So what do we make of Kyren Williams, and is there a chance that maybe he's going to get supplanted by incoming rookie 6th-round pick Zach Evans, or potentially the addition of Sony Michel? I'm going to get into that. So let's talk about it. I think the questions are, is Kyren Williams going to be RB2? Where are we on him? Okay. I'll say this right now. I believe Kyren is the de facto number 2 running back in the room. I think Cam Akers, as we talked about in the last video, 251 carries, the proof is in the pudding. If I think he's going to go for 251 carries, that's bell cow level. That doesn't necessarily mean he will end up being the bell cow because I said it, but that's basically where I'm thinking. And so when I look at somebody like Kyren Williams, he does more than just run the ball. He can receive the ball. He is a really good receiving threat out of the backfield. He can go out there and he can take a beating, and he can give out a beating in the pass protection area of his game. That's one of the main reasons why the Rams traded up to get him in the 5th round in the 2022 draft class. So I think the Rams like him a lot, and I've been told they like him a lot. I think he's being slept on a little bit by some of the fan base, not all. But I think his ability in pass pro is legit. It will get him on the field when Cam Akers comes off it. His receiving game is legit. And I think, as mentioned in the previous, episode, McVay doesn't run the ball at a crazy rate. But I think a lot of that is going to change. He was willing to bring in Mike LaFleur. I think LaFleur is going to look at Kyren as kind of like a Michael Carter with the Jets last year. Breece Hall, kind of the Cam Akers role. I think you're seeing Michael Carter here with Kyren Williams, a guy who's better than he was drafted, than where he was drafted. And I think he's better than most people give him credit for. It's because of that body. He's not a big 6 foot tall running back that's 220 pounds. That's not him. And so I think that is always going to kind of be held against him, whether it's right or wrong. I mean, he's 5'9", almost 200 pounds, but you know how things go. So obviously, size is not a skill, but I do think that kind of hurts him to a degree. I'm not saying it's right, but I do think it kind of hurts him. When I look at Kyren Williams, and the reason why I made the thumbnail the way I did is I think of Miles Morales Spider-Man. If you guys watched Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse or even played any of the Spider-Man games, Miles Morales is learning the ropes, okay? Kyren Williams is learning the ropes. He is not the main guy. He should not be the main guy. Right now, as you know, if you've been watching the Spider-Man movies, Tom Holland's Spider-Man's the main guy. So why am I connecting him? Well, the reason being is eventually Miles is going to take over. And I think eventually Kyren Williams could take over. I think people sleep on this guy to no end. I don't think that there is a guaranteed chance he's the starter of the future. But if the Rams move on from Cam Akers, it's not a guarantee that this year's 6th round pick in Zach Evans is going to be the guy that takes over. There's not a guarantee that anybody on this roster is, but I have more confidence in Kyren Williams. And so really when I look at last year, wasn't able to play that much, got off to a little bit of a hot start when he first got thrown into the fire against the Saints, had a couple good runs. But for the most part, Cam Akers kind of took over the backfield. And so I think Kyren will be used more. I think with Cam as the bell cow, you can see Kyren in those 3rd down situations. So where do I have him in the stat projection area of his game? Well, we're going to start, for starters, 81 carries. Okay, last year I said he had 35 for 4 yards per carry. That's not awful. It's not amazing, but behind that offensive line, it's not bad. I have 81 carries. Look, I don't think that this is going to be the main focus of his game. I think the Rams are looking at him more as kind of a do-it-all type of guy, can come in and be like a Spider-Man, just flying all over the place, not afraid to stick his face in the fan and help in pass pro. So I'm a big fan of Kyren Williams in that regard, and I think the Rams are as well. It's not that Cam Akers can't get better in that area, and I think he has, to be honest with you. I just think Kyren is so good and so fearless when it comes to pass protection and what he can do in the receiving game that I think he's going to play more than just running the ball. And so I have 81 carries for 372 rushing yards. And I think Kyren Williams, when you look at it, is just, he's somebody that you can count on the ground. When you need those change of pace runs, I think Kyren is going to be there to take on that load. You have a 1 rushing touchdown. I'm not going crazy here, okay? I'm not going to give him 5 or 6 or anything like that because I think the addition of Sony Michel, Cam Akers' obvious, ascension when it comes to just his confidence, I don't think they'll be going to him as much at the goal line or anything like that, but I think Kyren will get in for 1 touchdown. I have 42 receptions. I think, again, this is somebody that is going to have one of those, I guess, James White type of seasons where it's not a pretty looking stat sheet. You talk about maybe 400 yards rushing and then like 500 or 600 receiving. Not quite James White, but I think it's going to be similar to that. And so I have 42 receptions for 370 yards, which is just 2 yards less than his rushing total. I think he's going to be utilized in that regard. I think he's going to be a dual threat guy, and I'm giving him 2 receiving touchdowns. This is his 2nd year. Some have the sophomore slump. I don't think he truly had a rookie season. He got thrown in the fire, got hurt, came back, got thrown back into the fire, and then was out of the spotlight entirely when Cam Akers took over down the stretch. I think this guy has what it takes to be a starting running back down the road. He has everything in his arsenal. I think the one thing that you're missing is that long speed. And okay, like say what you will, but at the end of the day, I really like this guy. I think there's a reason why the Rams drafted him. He is kind of like, Darrell Henderson. I think that was kind of, they wanted a guy like that. Darrell Henderson was going into a contract year. So when they picked him, it wasn't a surprise that, Henderson was out the door. I think when you look at Kyren, what he brings to the table, he's strong enough. He's not like the tallest running back ever, but he's strong enough where you can throw him out there, and I think he can take a beating. So I think at the end of the day, Kyren Williams is not going to blow anybody away this year because, I mean, if everyone stays healthy, of course, I think Cam Akers is going to have a really good season. I already said 1,200 yards type deal, 10 touchdowns. But if Kyren was to be thrown into the fire and had to start, this guy could have 800 to 1,000 yards depending on if he had to start day one. God forbid anything happens, but if he had to start day one, I think he could do it. So, end of the day, I trust Kyren Williams. I trust what the Rams are doing with him. I understand there's some blowback. You draft a running back in the 6th round. In the current draft, everyone starts to wonder, is Kyren Williams on the chopping block? No. The signing of Sony Michel didn't change that. The drafting of Zach Evans didn't change that. Keeping Ronnie Rivers on the roster doesn't change that, okay? Cam Akers is going into a contract year in which I think he's going to have his best year yet, but there's a chance he's not brought back at the end of the season. And if that's the case, Kyren Williams is the next man up until they draft somebody or they go out, whatever. Kyren Williams is the next man up. So I think we're sleeping on him a little bit as a collective fan base, as a collective unit, analysts, so forth. I don't think people realize what he's capable of. You go back and you watch the tape at Notre Dame and you can really see it for yourself. He didn't really get a sample size in the NFL. I mean, like literally just got a sample size, not a big one. 35 carries is not enough to really tell you much. 9 catches isn't enough to really tell you much. But I can tell you right now that I feel confident. When this guy was, Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson, when they were hurt, and this team was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and, they were basically scrimmaging with the Bengals. This was the starting running back. This is the guy that was with the ones. This was the guy, Kyren Williams. They really like him. They didn't draft him for no reason, and they didn't trade up to pick him for no reason. So I'm just saying, 164th overall in the 2022 draft, played 10 games, special teams, so forth. There's a lot of value here. So just keep an eye on number 23 because I don't think we've heard the last of him in regards to him potentially getting a bigger role. I think this year's going to be important. I think it's going to be kind of a Michael Carter experience. And then maybe down the road, he gets an opportunity to start. I don't know if that's going to happen, but there's a chance. So in conclusion, we have 81 carries for 372 yards, rushing, a touchdown to add to that, 42 receptions, 370 rushing yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Kyren Williams has himself a season in which he goes for over 700 yards. Okay, and I think he would sign up for that. Definitely, I think he would sign up for that. So over 700 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, and we're talking, over 120 touches. It's a good step forward. Junior year might be a little different, but this is the best that you can probably expect. I would say that's realistic when Cam Akers is going to be the bell cow. So that's my thoughts. But what are yours? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Kyren is less than what I'm giving him? Do you think he's more? Are you higher on him than I am? Let me know in the comments section below. But I am Jake Ellenbogen, and this has been the Jake Ellenbogen channel. You can follow, like, subscribe, comment, all of that. And I'm constantly posting content, so be sure to do that. You can check out the previous videos. I did a video on Stafford's projections and Cam Akers. The next video will likely be a receiver, will likely be Cooper Kupp. So look out for that. But until next time, guys, you take care. Later, folks.